Did you know union busting is $1 billion industry? But you wouldn't know that from looking at financial reports. Because usually in the books, corporate hacks don't identify themselves as corporate hacks, nor do war makers identify as war makers. They're job creators, spreaders of democracy. In the case of union busters, they also adopt a benevolent title for themselves, labor relations consultants. But every now and then, they reveal who they truly are. Take Richard Berman, who operates a shadowy network of nonprofits out of his law firm, Berman & Company, that partners with large companies for the sole purpose of trying to crush workers who are organizing for a better life. You don't have to take my word for it. He said it himself.
And people say, well, what's your offense? I say, I get up every morning and I try to figure out how to screw with the labor unions.
One of the nonprofits he runs is called Center for Union Facts and describes itself as an organization that, quote, fights for transparency and accountability in America's labor movement. For an organization that purports to advocate for transparency, the center refuses to disclose its own donors and their financial contributions. In a leaked audio recording from a meeting in 2014 between Berman and energy company executives, he assured them that if companies are interested in the center's services, they would remain completely anonymous.
We run all of this stuff through nonprofit organizations that are insulated from having to disclose donors. There's total anonymity. People don't know who supports us. We've been doing this for 20-something years.
Eventually, Berman was slapped with an IRS complaint that showed he was hired by Smithfield Foods, a pork producer based in the United States, when the company realized that thousands of workers had had enough and were organizing their union at the Tar Heel, North Carolina plant, which is also the largest meat processing plant in the world. After Berman was hired, he promptly paid his own nonprofit, Center for Union Facts, to help run the campaign to crush the union drive, or at least to try. The center peddled all the same propaganda about United Food and Commercial Workers, or UFCW, in the campaign at Smithfield that they're now saying about the UAW in the South. In fact, over the years, Smithfield has racked up dozens of legal violations, including spreading blatant lies about the union, harassing workers about union sympathies, and even assaulting pro-union workers. It's pretty interesting, because the center says that they're against, quote, corruption, violence, and intimidation, but we don't see any website from them exposing the violence of, say, Smithfield, just websites against the workers who are subject to it and dare to fight back. And that's exactly what these workers did. Even with all the fear spread by the company, all the vicious pushback that was designed to cause confusion and make them think, well, yeah, there's problems, but it's just not worth it. That despite all of that, they said no. We aren't going to live another day under the boot of the company that we built and made so profitable without a voice. So they organized and they built unity in a diverse workforce, and they fought and they took on Goliath and they won. In fact, Smithfield workers and their union won in their first contract many of the things that the company had said year after year were impossible. They immediately won over a 30% increase in starting pay, stronger benefits including paid vacation, sick time, health care, job security, a guarantee for minimum hours, and provisions around safety. Now legally binding since it's in a union contract. And no, the Smithfield plant where workers organized didn't close down, a talking point that companies love to use. But the case of Smithfield is just one example of a general playbook that people like Berman, his front group Center for Union Facts, and the companies that contract them use to prevent workers from realizing their power and improving their lives.
Changes that are necessary for our business to be able to survive and thrive could be significantly more difficult with a union contract in place.
One of the main themes in propaganda from Berman and other union busters is framing the union as some sort of outside third party. But who are the real outsiders here? To answer that question, you have to start with defining what a union is in the first place. It's really quite simple. A union is just a group of workers who come together to take the actions necessary to fight for justice at work and by extension in their lives. The question is, are we better off united or divided? Do we have a stronger voice when we speak together or if we speak alone? Just think about all the times that you've tried asking your supervisor about an issue you're facing whether it's scheduling, pay, or safety, or all the times you decided not to raise it with them because you knew it would fall on deaf ears. Well, chances are you're not the only one who feels that way at your workplace. Forming a union is all about this basic fact, that we're stronger together, and simply put, the company can't ignore us that way. If your company acknowledges that fundamentally this is what a union is, taking action together rather than alone, well, they wouldn't have much of a chance to defeat the organizing effort. Just imagine if your boss said, well, if you and your coworkers, aka the union, get together, you might bargain a contract that's not in your best interest. You and your coworkers might agree to a pay cut. That's why you shouldn't form a union. That just sounds ridiculous on the face of it. So they have to redefine what a union means. The union is an outside legal institution that makes decisions for you. Or more specifically, it makes decisions that are bad for you. We call this third-partying our union. The reason the boss does this is because they know it's far easier to undermine your faith or hope in an outside institution or some lawyer or negotiator than it is to undermine faith in yourself and your coworkers. Don't get me wrong, lawyers can be important sometimes, but union workers like UPS Teamsters or UAW workers at the Big Three didn't win record raises and record contracts because a negotiator made a good argument at the bargaining table. It's because they were united and ready to take the actions needed to win the things they felt were necessary to improve their lives. But there is an outside third party here, and it's not the union. The workers are the union. The only third party is Berman and the Center for Union Facts. They're an outside institution that does the dirty work for big corporations. But there's another reason why Berman is so focused on framing the union as a third party. Because it takes the focus off of what made workers organize in the first place. Issues at work. You'll notice in the dozens of websites and memos and billboards that Center for Union Facts put out, they will never mention the issues. Why? Because they have no solution to them. In fact, they don't want them solved. Their entire purpose is to keep the boss in charge and to make sure workers have no say in how things work. When we organize as workers, we need to resist the temptation to respond to every piece of misinformation from outsiders like Berman. That's exactly what they want, to make the center of the conversation something other than the problems that we want to address. They want to cause confusion, controversy, and do whatever it takes to let the boss off the hook. That's why we always say, stick to the issues. The boss has a highly negative campaign based in fear, hopelessness, and confusion. All emotions that prevent action. Our campaign is positive. It's about righteous indignation, hope, and the power required to improve our lives. So next time you see some billboard or astroturfed anti-union campaign website from the Center for Union Facts, just remember, more likely than not, it's your boss that's paying for it. And more importantly, if you're organized and determined and you fight, you win. And as an added benefit, you make this corporate hack a lot sadder.